Thank you very much, Stu. What is it about? It is about. Two stories simultaneously. It is Adrienne herself, me as the ghostwriter for Adrienne, being someone who was able to escape domestic violence with the help of one of the world's only autistic savants. It is not just a story of her being rescued by this person, but also the story of how this person came to be, how to function using their savant skills, modulate their diminished social capacity with their high-functioning autism. And of course the subsequent violence that they both suffered. The ex-fiancée of the autistic savant is also the auntie of the girl escaping domestic violence. So it's a bit incestuous, but each person has the story from a different perspective about autism itself and how this person has come to survive in the world of humans. From the real star of the story is Jamil, or Jamie, and from his perspective it's described in a lot of a mix of prose and poetry, but it's more to do with, I guess from his perspective, imagine sort of walking down the street and everyone else has their left finger in their right ear, and trying to understand why people do that, and simultaneously trying to imitate them. And that's probably my best understanding of Jamil's life from the author's perspective, where it's sort of everyone else that's weird as opposed to him. But of course he suffers because of the fact that the majority of people are, from his perspective, weird, even though it's the world that views him as weird. And that, of course, causes tragedies which are simultaneously hilarious as well. In the midst of Jamie learning to function, there is an inability to understand, I guess, traditional social cues of warning. So he wanted to visit a river called the Big River, and he wanted to see how large it was. Now, to do so, through his, I guess he's not being aware of his uncoordinated or apparent uncoordinated nature to the outside, his request to the taxi driver to see this place was misconstrued by the driver as him wanting to cross illegally. Now, once Jamie reached the wall, he just climbed over the wall because he saw other people climbing over it, and so assumed that was the normal way to get into Syria. But of course, by doing so, attracted enough suspicion to be viewed as a Jewish spy. None of this he was being aware of, mind you, and so they also didn't believe his answer when they asked him why you were here. And his answer was, of course, to see how big the river was, because it was called the Big River. Now, unfortunately, that does sound hilarious, but they obviously, as you can probably imagine, misconstrued him being a spy and not believing his response, because it just seemed too stupid, I guess, from their perspective, or too convenient of a response. Ironically, being the truthful response actually made him look like a liar. And that sort of keeps going throughout the whole story, throughout the whole theme, where you, as the reader, potentially reconstruct how Jamie would appear from the outside, even though he's writing from his perspective, and he's sort of confused constantly as to why he gets maltreated constantly and in such adverse ways. Yeah, well, it's amazing how something as as benign as autism or can like exactly like you say help undermine or bring out the animosity of a Middle Eastern dictatorship. That's exactly right. It was during the time of Bashar al-Assad's father, Hafez al-Assad, and during that time as well, American dollars, as you guys said, were banned in Syria, and so but they weren't banned, of course, in Lebanon, which was where Jamie was coming into Syria from. And so obviously not being aware of these rules and not being in contact with people in general did not afford him the opportunity of learning such rules like what is prohibited in various countries around the world. And that was a more extreme example of how autism got him, and I'm sure other people with autism, into trouble on a daily basis. The worst part with Jamil was being a savant, so his ability to learn languages within a few hours once again, ironically, actually made life worse, because it allowed him to hide his autism by imitating neurotypical body language. And of course, that would mean that when he was caught out with unusual behavior, instead of people realizing that he might have autism, they just thought that he was actually, let's say, maleficent or had malintent. Which it's sort of like if a blind person can imitate seeing, then when they do walk into a wall, instead of people assuming they're blind, they assume that this person's deliberately just being an idiot, or trying to get attention by walking into a wall. It wouldn't, from the autistic perspective, I dare say, I have the audacity to suggest that they don't intend to be honest. They intend to be representing what they believe is real, and there is no, I guess, theory of mind subconsciously to understand the idea of deception. Based upon my studies and research into this condition, theory of mind is developed somewhere between age of 3 and 5 in the regular neurotypical child. and that is the understanding that other people can think different things to yourself, and with your ability to put your mind in their mind. And that, of course, is the beginnings of the ability to deceive. And, of course, the concept of being truthful can only exist when one understands the existence of deception. And without that, which is what I suggest the autist condition allows them to afford, it renders them unable to be dishonest because they're not aware that they're actually being honest. They're just being factual, I guess is the best way to call that. But this is also a concept not understood by most neurotypical minds, especially in the past, in the 80s and 90s when Jamie was growing up. And so, of course, no one could understand that this person would just be brutally what you'd call honest. They would think that they could potentially be dishonest. And that is sort of such a twist of adverse fate for someone who's autistic who... Yeah. Okay, that's it. I don't get how it works, so... Yeah, you seem very nice. So what did he say? He said, I have 2 other shows if you're interested. And then he hung up. So... I don't even know what that means. Thank you. Is that so? That's how it works? Is this what it's like to be interviewed on radio? He cut me off, but you got to witness that live.